what's the fair path forward? In a way, I feel like voice swap, what you're saying is voice swap is a model for a fair path forward, certainly in the music industry. And so I'm curious if we could talk broadly about that, and then what happens if it doesn't play out that way?
So broadly, and part of my dual role at the company, in my impact role, I'm heavily involved in legislative bodies, policy shaping, namely in the UK with the Creative Rights and AI Coalition out there in the UK and working with Parliament and with WIPO. And the reason I'm mentioning these institutions and bodies is going back to your question, we decided as a founding team, we're going to go this strategic long road to do this in a responsible way because a year, 2 years, 3 years from that decision, we knew that that value would come back to us because we wanted to take these artists, this voice talent, to work it in music and then give them the ability to work outside of music. And in order to do that, our base model had to be proprietary, the training, there had to be clear lines of who owned what. And in that instance, that opened us, that opened our business and our company and our partners, the artists, to be able to work with the advertising markets and other markets. So we also have text to speech capabilities and things of that nature. So um, that really opened up the avenue to do bigger business with trust. And the trust is baked into the way that everything is built and our agreements with artists. So a long-winded answer to say there is huge value in this space to do it ethically, but you have to have the commitment from the team and everyone involved and investors to really dig your heels into that and stick that road to the point that, we've been around for just shy of 3 years. And the benefit of going that route, we just started seeing that come back to us in the last, I'd say, 6 to 9 months where, people going to other companies and saying, word of mouth or through other means that they came to us from other potential companies saying, the way you're doing this or the way you're going about this makes us much more comfortable to do business and work with your talent. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I guess the second half of the question is what happens if the fairness approach doesn't play out in the larger tech and society and engagement in the market? What happens then?
It's everyone's always at the mercy of that, right? Even if there's these large generative platforms and they strike deals with larger rights holders or, big independents and they set a precedence that is in a gray area, right? That's something that definitely who has control over that. Those involved, the decision makers, especially with larger bodies that have the potential to, help inform those decisions. But yeah, no one's bulletproof because it could easily be we survived the blitzscaling era where there were other platforms blitzscaling and having crazy voices on there that some were like, hate speech inducing and crazy, just crazy. I'm not going to say it because we're recording this, but we survived that era. And to your point right now is it's just getting to the wire. It's getting down to the line of, now people monetizing this or figuring out how to utilize this technology. So even if it goes in that route where, say, the ethical or responsible approach is skirted by other companies, there's still the concept of ownership. And that's the thing that we're really sticking hard to, which is everyone on this call, and however long in the future, and I really do believe this, all of us are going to have a voice model of our own, the way we store pictures and paperwork and things on Dropbox. Like it's something that inherently we're going to have that definitive source of truth of who we are and what we sound like, however far in the future that is. So there is still a need for ownership. There is still a need for utility as this technology entices people to use it. But the part of it is like going back to that frame of curiosity. Someone could have curiosity to try the technology, but then as they take 2 steps forward, they'll take 3 back because they don't feel like they have control over how it's being used or where it lives
Mm.
or who's the custodian of, their intellectual property or even just their identity. So that really, I think, is this anchor that no matter where those areas go when it comes to, ethical, non-ethical developments, that is still an anchor that everyone can agree to, that still find value in it. Because like I'll give an example. There's a major label, Country Star, and they were really interested in getting into this technology, but they needed to figure out the initial utility. Their team was like, we already know how we would use this. We need a text-to-speech model, private, so that their team can do the hundreds of radio spots that that artist, that talent has to do. So that was that one form of utility that they knew they're willing to pay for, invest in the time to do it. And then once they had it, they did two birds with one stone. They have this functional thing that solves a problem. They have this tool for other things, but at the same time, they also created a source of truth for this, well-known artist that their representatives and legal teams, if they find something nefarious on another platform, on a YouTube, TikTok, whatever it may be, we also operate as a rights management agency on their behalf too, helping in terms of enforcing that right. So it goes back to that anchor without going too much detail. That will always fortify and push back against the potential irresponsibility of other companies, is my belief, but you never know, is my
So,
asterisk.
so in a way, you're saying like this is a differentiator for you. If the market goes a different direction, then it's just people can choose to work with companies that have put their flag in the sand around fairness and attribution and
Mhm.
payouts and all that kind of stuff. Cool.